Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Foundry by Forge College. I am super excited to have you here for another explainer. So in our previous lesson, Privacy Trade-offs and Censorship Resistance, we unpacked the mechanics of how network stays censorship resistant, and we looked at the, well, rather tricky trade-offs of privacy. We learned that a publicly verifiable transaction history is kind of a double-edged sword, right? It totally secures the network, but it can also expose your late-night 2 a.m. impulse purchases to the entire world. Today, we're taking those technical realities out of the theoretical realm. We're going to look squarely at the real-world human impact of blockchain design, because ultimately, the code we write literally dictates how real people live, interact, and survive in digital spaces. Okay, so here's our blueprint for today's explainer. We'll start with 1, the privacy and openness tension. Then move to 2, the protocol dashboard levers. 3 layers of governance. 4, real-world application scenarios. And finally, 5, designing for ethical outcomes. Let's get right into it. Section 1, the privacy and openness tension. So whenever we build permissionless systems, we are constantly managing this fundamental tension. It's honestly like a heavy-duty mechanical tug-of-war between two incredibly powerful forces. On the left side, we've got privacy. Cranking up the privacy protects individual autonomy and basically shuts down the risk of state or corporate surveillance. But the trade-off? Well, it makes deterring illegal acts or tracking bad actors much, much harder. Now, on the right side, we have openness. Maximizing openness gives us this incredible auditability and fraud prevention. But total openness, it can expose completely innocent users to doxing, discrimination, and coercion. I mean, municipal auditability is fantastic for catching corrupt officials, but broadcasting your exact Tuesday morning iced vanilla latte habit to the entire globe, yeah, that is a privacy nightmare waiting to happen. There is no perfect extreme here. There's only balance.
Moving right along to Section 2, the protocol dashboard levers.
So how do we actually find that balance? Welcome to the protocol dashboard. I want you to stop thinking about privacy and openness as abstract philosophical values. Instead, visualize them as heavy, slightly dangerous mechanical levers on this massive control board. Every single time you touch one of these levers, you set off a chain reaction across 3 distinct layers. First up, we have the mechanism layer. These are the literal gears turning, the cryptography, the zero-knowledge proofs, the on-chain data retention. It's what physically changes in the code. Second is the governance layer. This dictates who actually gets to pull that lever and under what rules. And third, we hit the social consequence layer. Basically, how do communities, bad actors, and institutions react to what you just did? You see, changing a mechanism always has a downstream human effect, and as the designer, you're the one responsible for anticipating it. Which brings us to Section 3, 3 layers of governance. If our mechanisms are the gears and levers, governance is basically the operating manual, and it operates across 3 distinct vectors. Look at the top row here, algorithmic governance. This is quite simply governance by math. Using mechanisms like zero-knowledge proofs and consensus rules, we get ironclad technical protection, but we severely limit human forensic oversight. In the middle, we've got procedural governance. This involves human processes. Think on-chain voting, multi-sig wallets, legal contracts. It creates formal accountability channels, but it introduces a real risk that a wealthy or powerful group might just capture the system. And finally, down at the bottom, cultural governance. These are the unwritten rules, the community norms, reputation systems. They provide flexible, soft sanctions, but the enforcement, it can be incredibly uneven or biased. So the specific combination of these 3 vectors is what dictates whether your lever pull results in beautiful civic transparency or terrifying state surveillance. And speaking of surveillance, we really have to talk about concrete harms here. One of the absolute most severe is de-anonymization. This is what happens when seemingly safe, anonymous metadata, like a wallet address, gets combined with off-chain data. Think of a KYC, or Know Your Customer database. Suddenly, an innocent on-chain footprint is weaponized to expose a user's true identity. If our governance mechanisms fail to protect the user, while our beautifully designed immutable ledger just becomes a permanent, highly searchable database for stalkers, oppressive regimes, or data brokers. It's scary stuff. Let's look at how this plays out in Section 4, real-world application scenarios. Abstract theories are great, right? But technology lives in the messy, complicated, very human real world. So what happens when we yank these levers out of a sterile lab environment? Let's field test them in 2 radically different, high-stakes scenarios to see exactly how these outcomes shift. Let's dive right into Scenario A, a civic accountability registry. Now, our goal here is noble. We want citizens to audit municipal spending to stamp out local corruption. To do this, we need to grab the openness lever and just yank it all the way up. We need raw transaction records, project metadata, the whole shebang. But what's the risk? while raw openness exposes the innocent, highly sensitive personnel data of the contractors doing the work. You don't want a plumber's home address broadcast globally just because they fixed a leaky pipe at City Hall. So our design response must include redacted fields, role-based access for those deep audits, and tamper-evident hashing. This way, we get the public auditability we desperately need without that dangerous unintended exposure. Now, contrast that first scenario with scenario B, humanitarian aid payments. Here, we're distributing safe cash assistance to highly vulnerable displaced individuals in a war zone. In this context, pulling the privacy lever to the absolute maximum is literally a matter of life and death. If hostile actors can trace the ledger, they can target the aid recipients directly. But the trade-off risk? Extreme privacy makes donor fraud detection incredibly hard. So what is our design response here? Well, we implement zero-knowledge proofs to verify eligibility without revealing any identities. And we pair that with strict off-chain fiduciary oversight and time-limited receipts. Same dashboard, totally different lever settings, dictated entirely by human survival. This perfectly highlights our next core concept, context sensitivity. The exact same transparency settings that enable a flourishing democracy in one country could enable targeted persecution in an authoritarian regime. Technology is mathematically neutral, sure, but human context is everything. As we explore in a lot of the other courses we offer here through Forge College, you simply cannot just copy-paste a protocol from one jurisdiction to another and expect the exact same ethical outcome. You have to design with context sensitivity from day one. And finally, Section 5, designing for ethical outcomes. So how do we take all these heavy ethical ponderings and turn them into actionable, hard-coded engineering constraints? The absolutely crucial point is this. Treat ethical trade-offs exactly like you would treat a massive latency issue or a critical bug. They must become hard product requirements. You don't just hope your protocol respects privacy, you engineer strict logging minima. You don't just wish for safety, you build in emergency opt-outs and highly verifiable threat models. Ethics literally must become code, or it's just empty philosophy. Let's wrap this whole explainer up with what I call the engineer's blueprint. When you sit down to build, remember to separate your thinking into mechanism, governance, and social consequence. Translate your ethical choices into measurable, testable product requirements. Always, always anticipate context sensitivity. Know that your code is going to cross borders. And finally, encode your mitigations not just in the smart contracts themselves, but in the human governance processes surrounding them. Seriously, jot these down because you're definitely going to need them for your reflective exercises as we move into our next lesson on framing problems suited for blockchain. I want to leave you with this final, rather provocative thought. Your protocol's data is immutable. It will likely outlive you, and it will certainly outlive its current users. So what legacy are your technical levers building for tomorrow's society? Will it be a legacy of empowerment and protection, or one of surveillance and vulnerability? The choice is entirely in your design. Thank you so much for joining me today. I highly encourage you to dive deeper into this topic and explore all the incredible Web3 related courses we have waiting for you by visiting forge.college. Keep pulling those levers thoughtfully, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.